everybody, welcome to 54 Nights. National parks are starting to slowly open. Thought we'd take a look at a few of them. The top, the most visited national parks. Great Smoky Mountains, of course, #1 spot. Been there for years. It's on the East Coast. And it's kind of a positive sign that they've started to open, you know, about a week and a half ago is when they actually started to. So that's kind of a positive sign, being that that's one of the more populated areas of the nation. And they're slowly opening up, little things here and there. Some roads are shut down, some roads have opened up. You know, of course, visitor centers and things like that are still not open. Grand Canyon coming in at #2. June 5th they are opening up.
#2 as in populated parks, you mean?
Yeah, visited, okay. Most visited parks. June 5th is when they're starting to open up under limited capacity like everyone else, and it, you know, just slowly, you know, they have the same phases that everybody else has, just different definitions for each phase. And then we have Yellowstone. Let me look. No, well, Yellowstone is actually #6, but the main loop is open, or going to be open. The northern part of the park and the western part of the park are still closed, and a part of that is because Montana and Idaho have asked them to not open up yet. So you've got the entrances in Wyoming that are open. You know, the fishing bridge and Old Faithful, you can get to those, but it's the northern part of the park is still closed. And
so people can't leave the park and go get something to eat or something in those states. I get that. That makes sense.
Yeah. So, and there's no camping. They haven't opened the campgrounds yet, and like everywhere else, limited services. I don't even think that lodge is open yet.
I wonder why there's no camping. To discourage people from sticking around?
I don't know. I don't understand that either. Maybe just to keep the traffic down.
Yeah, makes sense.
And then there's what is Zion? This one is interesting.
Yeah, because they have to take shuttles to get in.
No shuttle service.
What?
Yeah.
How are they doing this?
And I don't know, because other than the visitor center, there's only about 400 parking spots other than at the visitor center. I don't know how many are at the visitor center. It's a pretty big lot because that's where the shuttles run out of. But yeah, no shuttle service. You know, some of the trails are shut down.
Maybe I could understand this better if we had been to Zion. Just from everything I've heard, I don't even see how that could.
And from looking at it, it's a small park. It really is, and it is one of the busiest parks. What, #4 on the list? So that one's going to be a tough one because it is so popular. And #5 is Yosemite. It's in California. It's going to be shut down for a while, I imagine, until California decides to open up. So that's, well, except for #3. And we're going to talk a little bit about #3, because #3 is Rocky Mountain National Park, and that one is the one that interests us most. I probably should have prefaced this conversation with, this stuff changes on a daily basis, all this information but
just like everything else right now.
Yeah. So when it comes to Rocky Mountain National Park, starting June 4th of 2020, you've got to get an entry permit. Online is the only place to get it. And from what I've seen, it's $2 per entry permit. Now that does not include the cost of getting into the park. You pay that at the toll booth when you get to the park. But you got to get online, and you have to reserve a time slot to get into the park. It's basically like a 2-hour time slot, so it's not like you have to be there at 9:55 a.m. You've got, you know, a 2-hour slot, you know, between 6 and 8, 8 and 10, and so on. And this applies from 6 a.m. to 5 p.m.
I guess that $2 pays for the person who takes care of that.
I guess so. I mean, it is something a little extra, I guess, and they gotta try to pay for it somehow because they haven't been making money fast a couple of months.
Yeah.
So it's $2, not a big deal. I mean,
mind.
for us, if this carries on into August, which I don't know if it will or not, but you got to keep in mind, I'm getting squirreled here. I'm sorry, but it's just me. Got to keep in mind, a month or so back, they were talking about not even opening national parks until next year. So this timed reentry could, or timed entry, sorry, it could last for the rest of the year, and who knows if it turns out that they like it.
I think there's a lot of things in life that we've changed that we're kind of going to keep in a lot of different ways.
Yeah, and basically what they're attempting to do is keep the population in the park down. Trying to remember how many parking spaces they have in the park. It's like 4,800 parking spaces.
Wow.
I mean, outrageous amount of places to park inside the park.
That's amazing.
And they're wanting to keep it down to a certain percentage of vehicles that come into the park. I wish I could find, I'm looking at my computer here, and I wish I could find where it said, but I was thinking it said like 60% capacity is what they're wanting to run at. And only 90% of those passes are going to be sold way in advance. They're going to reserve 10% of them for last minute, like within 48 hours, because I mean, a lot of folks don't research when they go on vacation. They just throw a dart at the map, which is awesome. I've done it before. It's really fun. You throw a dart at the map and, okay, we're going to Rocky Mountain National Park, and then you get there and find out, oh, you can't get in the park.
Kind of, or at least the vacation that you had planned is kind of ruined.
Yeah, yeah. So,
not necessarily vacation. You should never let your vacation be ruined, but you should make it fun.
Yeah.
But that particular vacation isn't happening, possibly.
So you got that reservation, that 2-hour window to show up at the park, and from what I've seen, and really I doubt you can get re-entry, as far as if you go in at 6 o'clock in the morning, when you leave you're done for the day, which is unfortunate, because, you know, like Terry and I will go to the park early and do a hike and come back to the camper for lunch outside of the national park.
Let the dogs out.
And let the dogs out and all that good stuff. And then after lunch and after a nap, because we have to take a nap, we're old.
We love the park in the evening too. Well,
yeah.
Usually it's not just because we're old, because we've done a pretty decent hike or 2 or 3.
Yeah.
That's awful for us.
Well,
because I love the hikes, and then I love going back in the evening.
Well, the thing is, like I said earlier, this reservation system is from 6 a.m. to 5 p.m. They are not shutting the gates to the park.
Oh, yeah.
So before 6 a.m., after 5 p.m.,
okay,
you don't need a reservation.
I'm okay with that. Okay, you made me feel better. Thank you. That's what you're here for, right?
Yeah, scrolling through some of the frequently asked questions, yes, you have to go to recreation.gov to make these reservations. July 4th is the first day of that, and June 4th is the first day for that. and you'll be able to make reservations for the month of June and the month of July. And then come July 1st, they'll open up the reservation window for August and September, I believe is what it said.
No, like you were telling me, you have to reserve early, so you might even reserve days that you're not going to be in there, which doesn't work out really well for people that could have gotten your spot.
Yeah, that's one of the unfortunate consequences, I guess.
I wonder if once they have all the reservations, if they still have people that haven't arrived. Well, but no, that wouldn't work, because what if the person wanted to get there at 4:30?
Yeah,
Wow.
it's because when we go to Rocky Mountain National Park, I have 4 or 5, sometimes more hikes that we want to do during that time frame that we're out there to Estes Park. I don't have days, what days we're going to do it, because there's a lot of factors involved with hiking.
How you feel that day, how much you've recovered from the hike the day before,
or if you've even acclimated yet. You know, when you live down here and down in Oklahoma, which is
sea level,
getting darn close to sea level, you go up there to Estes Park, which is it 6,000 foot elevation, somewhere around there?
I don't know. Denver's mile high. So.
Yeah, you've got to kind of get acclimated. One of our tricks is always to be well hydrated prior to getting there. The weeks leading up, making sure you're staying hydrated, and then staying hydrated while you're there makes that acclimation process a lot faster, and you don't suffer from altitude sickness. At least we don't.
Right. At least we haven't.
So
no promises.
I did before that. Okay, so I know that that's what's working for me. But so we don't know what days we're going to go hiking. If we're showing up on a Friday afternoon, we're not hiking then. But are we going to feel up to going hiking Saturday, or do we just want to go to downtown Estes? And then if we go hiking on a Monday, if it's a healthy hike, like a 12-mile hike, we kind of assume we're not going to want to hike the next day, but then we wake up the next day and it's like, let's just go ahead and go.
Or go over to like Bear Lake, where you're basically just barely off the road.
Oh my gosh.
That was unintended, but it was awesome.
So, and plus the days that we don't hike, where we go into the park as far as overlook tourist type national park, Rocky Mountain National Park is awesome. You got overlooks, pullouts along Trail Ridge Road that are just awesome stops. If you can't go hiking, this is still just an awesome state park. So yeah, days we don't go hiking, we still want to go into the park and just enjoy the view. So for us, it's like, okay, we're going to have to make a reservation for every day that we're there, knowing that there may be a day or two that we don't go into the national park, and then that ends up basically taking a reservation away from somebody else, which I don't like.
No.
But I'm kind of having to do it because of the way we do things.
And everybody, I'm sure, is having to do it.
I know I'm not the only one. So
yeah, I hate it. I wish if we decide not to go, we could go find somebody and give them our reservation for that day. I think we'll go every day, though.
Yeah,
even if it's just to take the baby in there and drive around or something.
Yeah, we usually do go every day. There may be one day out of these trips that we don't go. So anyway, back to the frequently asked questions. One of them is, can I leave at any time? Yes, you can. There's no length of stay limit or requirement.
Which is good. If you fall off a cliff and you break your arm, you get to go. You don't have to wait.
Even if you have... No, I'm ignoring you. Even if you have an annual pass or a senior pass, or one of the other passes, you still have to get a reservation. You get to use that pass at the toll booth when you get to the park, but you still have you're still required to make a reservation in order to get into the park. And you can cancel your reservation up to within 72 hours of the time you're supposed to be in the park, and you do get that $2 refund.
So I wonder if people like that didn't get a reservation for a day, I bet they can be checking back at the end, you know, close to time.
Maybe.
Well, I don't know, because you have to reserve it like a month in advance. So I wonder how that works.
Yeah. Well, I mean, they do reserve like 10% of the reservations for
last minute?
Last minute,
oh, okay.
Within 48 hours.
Sorry, guys, I'm just wondering this stuff, and you're kind of along for the ride while I wonder.
Sorry. I apologize. And then one of the other questions that's brought up is, what if I'm not going to the national park, but I need to drive through the national park? Because the highway, Trail Ridge Road, is a highway that connects Estes Park and Grand Lake. And really, unless you want to go like 3 hours out of your way, that's
the way you want to go.
That's the way you want to go.
It's pretty too.
Yeah. Unfortunately, if you're not a resident or commercial business related, whatever, no, you still have to get an entry permit. So that's that kind of because we have just driven through the park just to get over to Grand Lake before. So unfortunate, and plus, I mean, if you get an entry permit to get in from the Estes Park side, or I mean, I guess it doesn't matter which side of the park, but you get an entry permit to get into the park, and because you're going to Grand Lake, well, once you leave the park, well, then you have to have an entry permit to get back into the park.
Oh, so you can't come back until like after 5?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so it's...
I could see people like slamming on their brakes when they realize they're about to go to the park.
It's
you turn right in front of the turnstiles.
Yeah, it's... I mean, we can sit here and pick apart all the...
It's just interesting. I mean, I don't think either of us are upset about anything. It's just because, I mean, this is unprecedented, and they are doing their best to make it accessible for us and make it safe for us. And I mean, they don't have like a handbook, and this is what to do in a pandemic. So
yeah, and I mean, they are doing their best they can. I mean, it's not going to be perfect. We can pick it apart, and well, why didn't you do it this way? Why didn't you do it that way? Well, because I mean, really,
they're doing their best.
Yep,
doing
their best to do it. And I am, without a doubt, there's going to be some park rangers that need to take advantage of Colorado's marijuana laws, because they're going to be getting yelled at.
Yeah, they
are. My gosh, there are just some people in this planet that just they can't take it when life doesn't go their way.
I saw somebody at Walmart yesterday that screamed at the people standing out front because they didn't like where the entrance and exit were. They said it was backwards. I'm dead serious.
No,
she screamed out. It is backwards. But are you going to scream at the poor 2 people that happened to be standing there? Because I really don't think they had anything to do with where the entry and exit were.
All right. Anyway, that is the story behind Rocky Mountain National Park's opening for 2020. And, you know, they actually opened a few days ago, and on the 4th of June, they're going to roll out this reservation system. So,
but you know, there's a couple of things. First of all, there's going to be less people. That will be interesting. Secondly, I bet there's more wildlife, because there hasn't been anybody there except for rangers.
Yeah.
So that'll be really interesting. I don't know, in a good interesting. Hopefully we don't get trampled by something, but...
I can outrun you.
Great. I need to work on that.
like I said earlier, things change. They may get a month deep into this reservation thing, and then all of a sudden life is good and they open it back up. But we shall see. But hopefully this helps you all out if you plan on going to Rocky Mountain National Park this year.
And if you plan on going to any national park, make sure you look.
Yes.
Look what's going on, because you may need to make prior arrangements for some of the stuff you want to do.
Yeah, nps.gov. That is the National Park Service website.
Nancy Falls Sean. Oh wait, was that confusing, Sean?
You are confusing. No matter what national park you plan on going to this year, folks, be sure to go to the National Parks Service website, go to that specific national parks site, and read up on their coronavirus, precautions and all that, and see what's going on, see if it's even worth the trip. Like I said earlier, Yosemite's not even opened up yet. Now watch it be opened up when this video comes out. I mean, so if you plan on a visit to the national park, go to the National Park Service website, do a little bit of research, just this one time, just this once, just do a little research this one time.
You'll have more fun. It's worth it.
And since she has no more words of wisdom,
oh, I can come up
we'll
with
catch
something.
y'all down the trail.
No, hey, I know something.